So there are three components involved in a design: the intersection of philosophy, strategies of inquiry, and specific methods. These three components are involved in selecting a research design. So here is a framework for design. It's the interconnection of worldviews, strategies of inquiry, and research methods. These three components are interconnected to each other in selecting a research design. So the first component is the philosophical worldviews. In writing about worldviews, a proposal might include a section that addresses the following. Number 1, the philosophical worldview proposed in a study. Number 2, a definition of basic considerations of that worldview. And lastly, how the worldview shaped their approach to research. There are 4 worldviews: the post-positivism, constructivism, advocacy and participatory, and lastly, pragmatism. So let us first define post-positivism. It is determination, reductionism, empirical observation and measurement, and theory verification. The reason why it is called post-positivism, because it represents the thinking after positivism. Assumptions have represented the traditional form of research, sometimes called scientific method or doing science research. It holds true more for quantitative than qualitative. It is also called empirical science. And lastly, it holds deterministic philosophy that causes probably determined effects or outcomes. So when you say reductionism, it is analyzing complex phenomena into a simpler one. So the next worldview is the constructivism. It is understanding multiple participants' meaning, social and historical construction, and theory generation. Constructivism is such a perspective. It typically seen as an approach to qualitative research. It also holds assumptions that individuals seek to understanding of the world in which they live and work. The next worldview is advocacy and participatory. It is based on political, empowerment issue-oriented, collaborative, and change-oriented. So basically, the advocacy and participatory worldview typically seen with qualitative research, but it can be a foundation for quantitative research as well. It also holds that research inquiry needs to be intertwined with politics and a political agenda. And lastly, pragmatism. The consequences of actions, problem-centered, pluralistic, real-world practice-oriented, and arises out of actions, situations, and consequences. So pragmatism applies to mixed methods, not just in qualitative but also in quantitative. It focuses on what works rather than what might be considered absolutely and objectively true or real. So the next component we're going to talk about is the strategies of inquiry. So strategies of inquiry are the designs or models that provide specific direction for procedures in a research design. It is also called approaches to inquiry. So here are the alternative strategies of inquiry. In quantitative research, there are experimental designs and non-experimental designs such as surveys. Quantitative strategies, this includes true experiment and the less rigorous experiments called quasi-experiments and correlational studies. Qualitative strategies are narrative research, phenomenology, ethnographies, grounded theory studies, and case study. So the viable ways to conduct a qualitative research studies is based on 5 approaches, which is the narrative research, phenomenology, ethnographies, grounded theory studies, and case study. And lastly, the mixed methods strategies. So there are 3 general strategies in mixed methods, which are sequential, concurrent, and transformative. So the third major element in the framework is the specific research methods. It also means data collection, analysis, and interpretation that researchers propose for their studies. The researchers collect data on instrument or test and gather information on a behavioral checklist. The table 1.3 shows the quantitative, mixed, and qualitative methods. So in quantitative methods, it's predetermined, instrument-based questions, performance data, attitude data and observational data, and census data. It also includes statistical analysis and statistical interpretation. Qualitative methods, emerging methods, open-ended questions, interview data, observation data, documented data, and audiovisual data. It also includes text and image analysis. And lastly, themes, patterns, and interpretation. So in mixed methods, both are predetermined and emerging methods used. Both open and closed-ended questions, multiple forms of data drawing on all possibilities, statistical and text analysis, and across database interpretation.